This was an interesting finale because we saw a lot of things that we're used to, i.e., Heather and Whitney doing Heather and Whitney things. We saw, and I do not understand it, and I think that it's mainly because of Heather and Whitney being so insufferable the last two episodes, especially this finale. The support that Meredith has gotten befuddles me. I am flabbergasted.
You mean the support online or the support for the cast?
Online. Online.
Okay. Yeah, the support online makes zero sense to me. Now, I have a different take on it, though. I feel like this is what we've come to get used to for a finale for Salt Lake. It is very, very cool that they're in Greece for this because you could actually say that it's a Greek tragedy every time that we have a finale with Salt Lake. And now we're in Greece and we get a little Greek tragedy. And it's, you know what? It always works for me.
As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be.
Oh man, it's 8 o'clock.
And so that'll make it a.
I don't need the spotlight. I shine just fine.
Hi, I'm Karma, and yes, I am a bitch.
Brav Bros.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Brav Bros, your favorite show. I don't remember the original intro.
Dude, what?
Hold on. Welcome back to another episode of Brav Bros. Here we go. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Brav Bros, your favorite show from the bros for everybody, for whoever wants to listen. Bang! Just like riding a bike. Hell yeah. Joined with me, as always, is the one and only Shooter McDuder. What's up, dude?
Hey, happy secret episode Stranger Things night to everybody out there.
Ooh, what a day, huh? I've been bombarding Shooter with, we are here to talk about Salt Lake, don't worry. But I've been bombarding Shooter with conspiracy theories all day. Now, that being said, I would like to clarify. I'm not expecting an episode 9. I'm really not. But I do think that the Duffer Brothers and their social team have leaned into this intentionally. And for that, a hearty FU to them. That's not nice because it's going to leave a stain on the show.
Yeah, I think that when we remember back, and you could say, yeah, you're going to forget all of this. But like when it comes to shows that I really love at the end, if something leaves a stain at the end, I will always remember that. And that's the thing that I'm going to remember the most. So yeah, have your fun. It's really fun to poke at the people that think that they caught a couple of things. What they're doing, by the way, is pointing out little holes that you guys had in your plot. So I get that you might want to be a little upset and like lean into it and play around a little bit and try to play with people's emotions, if you will. But if you don't have anything planned, you're going to look like an idiot in a couple of days. We're not going to look like idiots for believing it. You're going to look like idiots for leading into it.
Exactly. And I just don't want it to leave a bad taste in my mouth. I'm getting Game of Thrones vibes, even though, and we talked about it, we both enjoyed the finale. It was what it was. It wasn't the best episode ever, but it was enough for me to tie a bow on everything. If this is how we end it, I'm going to be pretty pissed. But that's a podcast for a different podcast. We're here to talk about the Salt Lake finale. All in all, solid season. Not the best, not the worst. It was a good season. I really enjoyed the vast majority of it. But this finale was, like you said, it is a lot of what we've seen before. That's a valid point. This felt different. And maybe it's because we're so cognizant of Heather doing Heather things and Whitney doing Whitney things and Meredith copping out that we're just like, it's almost unexpectedly expected. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? Like, no way they're going to do it again kind of deal.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because I think that this episode, compared to the rest of the season, even, it had a different feel. It felt more cinematic in a very weird way. It felt like the scenes were lined up perfectly. And I don't think that this is just good production. And we always do praise the Salt Lake City production crew because they do a fantastic job year in, year out.
This year was no different.
The way that things worked in this episode, specifically chronologically, it just meshed together so well. Everything that we've been talking about, and yeah, it might not be your favorite topic, and it really isn't our favorite topic. We've been talking about it for a couple of weeks now. We haven't really gotten anywhere, but if this is what we got to, I'm okay with that. The question I have for you, because this is the discourse online currently, and I know it was, a very knee-jerk reaction last night for people on Twitter, but where do you rank this season as a whole for Salt Lake? You've got 6 seasons. We all know what the worst season was, but
season
after
3
that
is the worst.
It gets a little weird. I mean, season 4 was fantastic, so that's got to be number 1.
That's number 1.
in the middle, it gets very murky for me.
I would go 1-5-2-6-3.
See, I think that
I missed
this
4. 1
Yeah.
5 or sorry, not
Well,
1.
4 is number 1.
4 1 5 3 6. 4 1 5
See,
3
I didn't
6.
think the 5 was that good. So that's where I'm at, and a lot of people are putting season
I
6
still missed one.
in the 5th slot. I'll help you out. Don't worry about
Thanks.
it. A lot of people are putting this current season in the 5th slot. Now, I think with a show like Salt Lake, all of the seasons except for season 3 are good.
Mhm.
They really are good. So it's really hard to do this, but you do have 6, and it's pretty easy to do a power ranking, I believe. So my power ranking for that would be season 4 for sure, because that pulled them out of the grave, and it was fantastic TV. I'm going to put season 2 in the 2 slot. I'll put season 1 in the 3 slot. I've got season 6 in the 4 slot. I've got season 5 in the 5 slot, and I've got season 3 in the 6 slot. I didn't think anything remarkable happened last year. I thought that it was okay, and then obviously at the end, everything kind of blew up. But aside from that, I mean, yeah, you had Bronwyn's first season and Angie really coming into the mix, and you had Brittany's first season. But like otherwise, season 5 really wasn't that special. I think season 6 was better than season 5. It was just a continuance, but it seemed like they were a little bit closer together. I understand people are going to get annoyed at going after Lisa in the beginning of the season. It was a weird Lisa season for the first part, but Lisa really came into her own. And I am very confident where we stand now, even though it seems to be 2 versus 5. I'm completely fine with that because they can hold their own.
That's the thing. You know, when you look at the factions that we now have after this finale, if there's going to be a 2 versus 4, Meredith and Lisa are the ones that can go up against that kind of smoke. And if you hear some noise in the background, my daughter, sister, and wife are playing in the other room, and you don't complain about it because what do you hate fun? Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
We hate babies.
yeah,
We
you
hate
don't like
babies now.
you don't like babies. What an asshole. Anyway,
God.
what was I
Babies are like the
saying?
dogs of humans.
Yeah, that's what I tell my
You
daughters
can't
every day.
dislike. Yeah, you can't. Well, no, I'm just saying, like, I've never met a dog that I disliked, but I've
Oh,
met
that's a good
a
point.
lot of humans that I dislike. Never met a baby that I dislike either. So I'm going to lump dogs and babies in together.
Okay, I see how you got there. But as I was saying, what was I saying? Oh, got it. Lisa and Meredith are more than capable of holding their own. What I don't want to happen, and what we run the risk of on the other side of the table, is Heather and Whitney thinking they're the top of that group. That needs to be taken over by Angie at the very least, if not a breakdown of that crew. That crew doesn't vibe well together. That's not like oh, these guys make sense. If there was like 3 factions, that would make sense to me. I don't see, and we've seen this time and time again with Lisa. This season's a great example. Even if she's alienated, isolated, and ganged up on, she tends to be able to work her way back into the group and without even having to apologize, usually, or vice versa. If the other people need to apologize to Lisa to bring her back in, we'll get a half-assed apology. She is good at brushing it off and just moving on with things after a certain point. We're going to have to sit through a few episodes of her not being cool, and that's fine. I mean, she got piled up on for the majority of the season, so that makes sense, her and Meredith both. So we're going to have to work through that phase of just like the fallout of this and the fallout of the off season. I don't foresee a future of this show where Lisa Barlow is on the outs for more than 3 to 4 episodes. And we saw that this year. So that's a great example.
Yeah, no, that is a great example. And like you said, the other crew, they're in disarray. They're not in agreement. And we'll get into that a lot further, obviously, towards the end of this episode. You can tell they're all coming at Meredith for different reasons. And it's not just Meredith. They disagree on a lot of things. They don't like each other at some points. You can always now, pretty much since season 2, you can stick to the fact that Meredith and Lisa are going to have each other's backs, regardless of what's going to happen. That'll probably change, I'm sure. And we'll give it 3-4 seasons if Meredith is still with us. But at the same time, I still think because they're not a congruent team on the other side and they all have different reasons for why they're doing what they're doing, they're never going to mesh well enough. It's never going to work. It's never going to be a single voice that's going after one person. That's the only time that we, as podcasters talking about these shows, when we hate gang ups when everybody on one side is saying the exact same thing to the other person and just knocking them down. That's not what you're getting with this. They don't agree on everything, and they're not going to agree on everything. And there's going to be infighting. So I'm not worried about these factions at all.
No, a unified front of 2 is much better than a erratic front of 4. Like they're
Correct.
not, like you just said, especially because you have such powerful personalities in that group. Mary is not going to just grin and bear what Wither and Hetney. You know what? Fuck it. We should start calling them that.
I like that.
Yeah, Wither and Hetney flows.
Yeah.
Wither and Hetney. Mary's not going to get on board with their bullshit, right? Angie's going to get to a point where she's afraid she's going to lose Mary's friendship, so she's going to go over to Mary's side. That makes sense to me. Brittany is going to float around as, oh, you just got an epiphany moment. What's up?
No, I want to call it. I think I'm going to start calling. I'm going to start calling Heather Pleather because she's fake.
Hey,
how about that?
Clock it. We were doing this over the holidays. Devin, Poppy, clock it.
You're allowed to do that because you have a daughter that is of the right age where it's like, all right, yeah, I'm just being a cool dad and I'm just being a good dad to my daughter. Yeah. I don't have that. So I'm not going to do that.
Please don't do that.
No, I look like a fucking weirdo.
Yeah, you'd be, I wouldn't do this with you anymore.
Unless it was, sarcastic. I could do that. I could
in jest. Yeah, I think you can pull off a sarcastic clock it.
If it's a bit, I can pull off a bit for sure. But
yeah, I have full faith in you. Anyway, we'll dive into this episode, but it's just, we like to break down what to expect either at the reunion or next season, just based on what we've been given on the finale. I think the biggest thing to take away, regardless of whose team you're on, I think most of us are on the same team here with a couple of deviations, that being how you feel about Meredith. But the show's in a good spot. This is fine because we've seen this cast in particular blow the fuck up. Everyone is running away from everyone, and yet they still find their way back. So I have full faith in this group to recover from this, and I think it's going to lead to an interesting season next year. I think the biggest question mark is, what does the cast look like? Because if you told me that this was Meredith's departure, I would believe you.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was Meredith's departure. It would make a ton of sense based on how this episode ends. We'll have to see what the reunion looks like, what kind of support she gets, what her stance is, if people back down a little bit, or at least
walks off,
that...
so not a great sign.
Or no, not a, well, it's a wonderful sign, actually. That's kind of my takeaway from watching that little clip. But I don't know. And we're going to leave all the speculation for that, obviously, as we usually do at the end of the reunion. We try to do the outlook for the next season and what we're going to be looking at and what the storylines are going to be. You can all tune in for the end of that one. What do we get? We're going to 3-parter, I'm assuming, right? Yeah. It's a future plug. A little, we'll see in a couple of weeks plug.
Yeah, see, we get the Bravo Bros name back. Bang, we start plugging things start
plugging
flowing
away.
Yeah, just plug. Anyway, let's dive into this episode. And not a whole lot happens until we get to the play at the end, right? But we're just tying a knot on everything in Greece. We have a phenomenal intro where we get the play is teased a little bit. That's where the cinematic aspect of Salt Lake comes in. They really do a good job, even if the campy corniness of it that they lean into, I really appreciate. But we're having coffee in the morning and you can feel it being set up already, right? And I don't understand the Meredith fanfare. I thought she was a dud for the majority of the season. I thought, and I'll save most of this for the end, but I thought she did the same stuff she always does. I'm pretty sure that it's all a credit to Whitney and Heather being so insufferable that we have forgotten about Meredith. But in her defense, you see Whitner and Heathy. Oh, you can change it up too. That's fun.
Yeah, you really can.
Yeah, that's going to be a good time. But you see them putting the pieces together, right? For this bullshit they're going to pull later because they go outside to have coffee. And as they're chatting about everything, first they have a problem with Lisa. And we get an unseen footage from the night before on the Sprinter van of Lisa saying nice things for the most part. Like, I want to get deeper with you. I want to do this. And they're mocking it. Well, she's not deep. She's so shallow. It's like, okay, but that's not what happened last night. Why are we now doing this? Then they go a step further and they start talking about Meredith once again. So you see what's happening. They are setting up the pieces, regardless of what has happened on this trip, to have a blowout at the end of the finale. That's fucking stupid. And it's so easy to see through. And we've watched you guys do this now 3 seasons in a row since, stop. Since the departure of Jen Shaw, you two have decided to put together this end of the year finale that is so overproduced and overdone that it never lands. And we've watched Heather have a good season before and then hit us with this bullshit in the last few episodes and just go and blow up at the bottom. So
Yeah,
we're
that's
in the
typically
first
what's
10
gonna
minutes.
happen.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, within the first 10 minutes, we're already seeing what they're doing. They're laying out the plans. They're trying to have that big moment. But the problem is, and this is something that hasn't happened in the past, you've been trying to do this for like 7 episodes
Yeah.
and nothing is landing. And yeah, we were on somewhat on your side, or at least on the other side of Meredith, based on what happened on that plane. It sounded like she lost her fucking shit and she had bad behavior. We all kind of put that together. We're okay with that. She's not answering for it. She's not suddenly going to answer for it at the end just because it's the finale. I know you guys
Right.
want to set it up like that, but it's not. And I've flip-flopped a little bit just because Meredith's behavior in this morning when she's making people cappuccinos and she's chipper and she's all happy and talking to everybody on a normal trip and based on where we've been the last couple episodes, I'm annoyed that people aren't just taking that. Like, okay,
Thank you.
cool. Let's
Yes.
have a good day. This is fine. The problem is you can see, and there are two sides to this. There's Bronwyn and Mary, and then there's Whitney and Heather. And the two sides are very, very different. Bronwyn and Mary are looking at it like, fuck, like what's going on? Like you were losing it yesterday. You were all over the place last night. We had to have a secret chat, which we'll get to in a second. And now you're all chipper and happy. It doesn't make any sense. These mood swings are very concerning. And then Whitney and Heather on the other side are saying, well, what she doesn't deserve to be happy in the morning.
Correct.
After all the things that she's been putting us through. No, that's just not what we're doing. And we can see through your bullshit right away. So that annoyed me right away. But I was still hopeful. And thankfully, obviously, the way it plays out, thankfully, the other side makes way more sense. It's like, okay, what's actually going on here? Because I'm happy that you're happy and it's going to lead us to have a better morning at least. But what the fuck's going on?
Yeah, and that's the way to approach it, right? As a friend. And I think again, I'm gonna save it. I gotta save it. I gotta save it.
Yeah, there's so
But
much that I keep
I
wanting to
know,
say, but like,
I know it's gonna hit better later though. But I agree. And I think that there's a very clear distinction between the two parties that are going against Lisa and Meredith at this moment. And you're right. Why can we not just accept this? It's the last day of the trip. She's in a good mood. Okay. Like, who cares, bro? Like, fucking leave it alone. Go drink another cappuccino. Why it matters that she pressed a button to make it or make it by hand, by the way, for the who cares? You're nitpicking so much now that you have an issue that she didn't hand make your cappuccino because there's a cappuccino machine in there. That would be dumb if she just forewent the cappuccino machine to then try to do something by hand. Like, stop. That's
yeah.
literally, I mean, I didn't even think about that till I just brought it up, but like that's literally what we're splitting hairs about in the beginning of this episode. Did she even make this? Who the fuck
Well,
cares?
then
She gave it to
why
you.
don't we just split hairs too? At least Meredith is doing something on this trip that's good for everybody. She's making
Yeah.
people cappuccinos. What have you two done that's been good for everybody? A situation that is not going to work and it's just going to piss everybody off. So if we're doing that, Meredith has actually done more positive things for you guys on this trip than you have for the rest of the crew. I don't know.
Facts. Yeah, no, I agree. We get to a Mary and Bronwyn chit chat. Now, these are the two that are concerned about Meredith. Do I think that Bronwyn's playing it up ever so slightly? I do, but I don't really have an issue with that. I saw some people online that did, which is fine. I don't. It's still a housewife show at the end of the day, but they're talking about this alleged conversation that happened the night before between Bronwyn and Meredith. Apparently, Meredith had texted Bronwyn, "Hey, can you chat at like 2:30 in the morning?" This conversation was allegedly about what was said at that lunch, and that lunch is referring to Whitney and Angie and who else was there? Bronwyn.
Mary.
Oh,
Oh,
Bronwyn
yeah.
and Mary, whatever. And that conversation was about Meredith and their concern for her. That was actually friends sitting down and going, fuck, something's going on. But Meredith is now trying to figure out what was said at that lunch. So Bronwyn relays that to Mary. Mary does the same thing she's done this season in regards to Meredith. Like, okay, tell her. Like, okay, I'm worried too. Like, yeah, that's not great. A lot of this is not great. And it leads directly into Meredith and Bronwyn in a very interesting setup scene because that seemed like a movie because you had
Yeah.
Meredith up top looking down on
That's what I'm talking
Bronwyn.
about. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I thought it was cinematic. But before even that even happens, my question with Bronwyn, like you already said, I'm not really sure, maybe she's playing it up. She's doing a little bit here and there. The way that she presented it to Mary was right after we convened, she started texting me frantically. We saw the text messages. Hey, can you come down to my room or I can come up to you? That's literally all Meredith said. So Bronwyn's already starting off saying that Meredith is texting her frantically.
Yeah.
Now, I do believe what happened in that room with the two of them and what was discussed did happen. I think verbally, that is what Meredith said. But now I'm starting to think, and this goes back to that lunch that they had, Bronwyn just wanted to interject. I mean, Whitney, again, I still disagree with the subject material that Whitney was bringing to the table about her dad and everything. But Mary was concerned about Meredith and brought a couple of things to their attention. Whitney did the same thing. Bronwyn didn't really have anything to say. That's why she threw out the Seth in New York bullshit just to be a part of the party. So
Sure.
now I feel like this is almost an extension of that, where she's going to Mary and she's like, okay, maybe I can get a little closer to Mary because we're kind of thinking the same thing. She might be concerned about Meredith's behavior, but I don't really think that they're that close. You guys had
That's
one
been
moment
my
on the
thought,
yacht.
yeah.
It's very bizarre. And again, and this is, believe it or not, Bronwyn's a known liar. She's a proven liar. So if she's going to lie about something or at least stretch the truth a little bit, it's going to be something like this. Again, I do think Meredith said that, but Bronwyn is definitely exacerbating it.
Yeah, it's definitely getting blown up a little bit, but you know, it could have she could have been frantic in the room when she got there to talk to her,
For
like,
sure. And we won't
but
know. Yeah.
right. But for me, I feel like we are over analyzing, not you and I, but the audience as a whole are over analyzing Bronwyn in that moment because again, like we're taking issue with adjectives. Like
Right.
it did happen. She's just making it sound a little bigger than it probably was, which you could take back to the airplane and say, okay, if you're, exaggerating this, did you got there's ways to do it, but at the same time, my concern is what happened. I don't really care about the semantics of it. I do believe this happened. We saw the text message. And yes, Bronwyn's a known liar. Meredith is an uncaught liar. And I will stand by this forever, especially after this episode, because she sits down with Meredith to have this conversation the next day to acknowledge, like, hey, what the fuck? Like, what's going on? And Meredith just vehemently denies it. Nope, that didn't happen. You're gas. This is crazy. I saw somebody post on Twitter and they said, look, like the group is crazy, whatever, but you're telling me that every single time Meredith's involved in something, everyone else is lying. And you go back and think about it. Anytime she's held to the fire, anytime she's questioned, anytime something comes up, she gaslights, sidesteps, and avoids it somehow because other things pop off. That happens in this episode later. There's a lot of nuance to it. I'm not saying that she was in the wrong there, and we'll talk about that when we get there. But once again, it's a moment where, okay, we saw the text. She texted her to come to my room. We sit down the next day and she's like, I didn't say that. That never happened. So it's
Well,
one of two things. You either forgot it, which is not great with all the allegations going around, or you're just flat out lying to her.
yeah, it's one of those two things. And she contradicts herself almost immediately in the
Yeah.
Sprinter van a little bit later by saying, yes, I did ask. And I did ask what happened to that lunch. It's like, okay, but when we met with Bronwyn earlier, you said you didn't say any of those things. So you can't contradict yourself. I know she gets into all of that a little bit later. Like, I was trained to be very careful with my words. This isn't being careful with your words. This is lying and then coming back and somehow extracting some form of, I did say that, but it was way different than what you're saying right now, just because Bronwyn was frantic a little bit later. It's crazy and it's
Yeah.
just flat out wrong. And it shows us right away. And this is why I don't really understand. Bronwyn does something later in the episode that kind of pissed me off. But before I watched the episode, I saw a lot of discourse online bashing Bronwyn.
I know,
What
same.
did she do?
I don't know.
I get that, like, yeah, you don't need to bring up the things that you brought up later in the episode. But in this moment, I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I'm with Bronwyn on this one. This is just infuriating.
That was what I was alluding to in the beginning of this episode. Like the fanfare for Meredith, I hope is a product of Whitney and Heather. And you're just like, I'm
Yeah.
so sick of these two that I'm team Meredith, team Lisa, or you're so team Lisa that you are by proxy team Meredith now. But to sit there and be like, oh, she had a great season is incorrect. To sit there and be like, she is infallible in this episode is incorrect because in the beginning of the episode, this happens. And then we
Mhm.
get proof from her that it did happen that way. So I'm going to get into more of her shit later. Again, I'm not saying that I'm
Well,
anti
let's just
Meredith.
ask a simple question. Did we get more out of Brittany this season or more out of Meredith this season?
Brittany.
Okay, and she's a friend of. So I
Yeah.
don't understand it either. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I'm not going to get on that bandwagon. We
And look,
refuse to do it.
I enjoy Meredith. I enjoy Meredith more than you do. I know that you're like, we didn't get anything from her. And a lot of people are like that, and that's fine. I think she's fine for who she is. There's 7 fucking people on this show,
Sure.
and we get more than enough out of most of them. I'm okay if there's a housewife here or there that takes a few episodes off. It's not like a big deal to me. And I don't dislike Meredith. I actually find her incredibly enjoyable most of the time. But to say that she's infallible and to say that she had a great season is just flat out wrong.
Yeah, it's incorrect. And I'm not a Meredith hater. I think where my disposition comes from is that when she's good, she's so good. She's one of the best. I swear to God, when she's on and her iconic lines, her big moments, they hit so hard. And you could argue that's because she's so like meh for so long and then she lands one. But I just want to see more of that Meredith. So I get frustrated when we watch, especially when people are trying to pull it out of her, trying to encourage her, trying to do whatever. And instead of engaging, she disengages, which is again one of her lines. But it just, I guess I know what she's capable of. So to see her phone it in multiple times a week or multiple times a month it's frustrating. It's more of a frustration than a dislike.
Okay.
But anyway, let's get to lunch with Uncle Milas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
I think so. Sorry if I mispronounced that, but we go to a little vineyard. This guy seems like a delight. He seems like
wonderful man.
Yeah. I want to go to Greece now. I want to go cook with Zeus and hang out with this guy because this was just a family scene. Angie talks about her mom a little bit. She talks about her dad. Her uncle talks a lot about their childhood and upbringing, difficulties in Greece, things like that. It was just a nice little, hey, the Greece trip is over. Let's have one more big Greek moment. I guess the Greek tragedy is the biggest Greek moment.
Yeah,
but
that's
you know
the
what I
big
mean.
moment. Yeah, one more enjoyable big Greek moment.
Yeah, it was just a nice scene. There's not really much to take away from
Greek
it.
Lunch.
My big fat Greek lunch with Uncle Miklas. Damn, I wish I wrote it down. So now we're on the Sprinter van and we're headed back to the house to get ready for this thing that we have later. Also, I didn't mention it, but earlier in this episode, they had sat down to speak to Stella.
Well, we didn't really get a whole lot from this. I'm happy that they brought it back later because we knew that they were filming it. But it was really just like one-off comments, a couple of jokes here and there. The woman not really understanding, or rather, actually, I'm going to put it on the housewives.
Definitely understood.
The housewives not understanding that she doesn't give a fuck about what they're saying. She's just trying to do her job for what she was hired for. But we didn't get a whole lot from that. But it is a good little piece of a nugget of information for later.
Yeah, just to set it up for later. They all give her a lot of tea, a lot of dirt to set up for the play. But on the Sprinter van, and I think this is one of my bigger issues too. And we saw pretty much the entire trip other than those brief moments. And I do have a counter to myself now that I just said that. But Meredith's on the Sprinter van. She's like, I don't know why I'm here. And there's just a lot of times that we've seen Meredith in this setting. And she doesn't care. And it comes off that way. She doesn't want to be there. And yes, you could argue that when she is in a good mood, then you could argue that when she is in a good mood, you got Whitney and Heather over there questioning why she's happy. And you've got Bronwyn and Mary. So I get it. But at the same time, I just want her to fake it then. Act like you want to be there. Act like you want to be part of this group. Because if you don't, it goes to what Mary said later. Why are you here? Like, that's my big question. There it is. Why are you here, Meredith? What are you gaining from this show anymore?
I mean, I don't really understand it either. And for her to be outspoken about wondering why she's even there, it's kind of annoying. Like,
go to confessional.
I'd rather you just go to your confessional. Exactly. That's what confessionals are for. It's for your inner monologue that you're having right then and there. You don't say it in a group full of women who are, by the way, circling like sharks, waiting for you to make a misstep so they can jump all over you. Why would you say that? You just opened yourself up again. If you stayed silent and just said, yeah, I'm exhausted, I think you would be okay. And if they went after you, you would have Lisa to back you up. Instead, you open yourself up to all of these things and what Bronwyn eventually gets to.
Yeah, and Bronwyn brings up the conversation they had last night. And Meredith acknowledges that happened. She acknowledges that she was the one that texted. She acknowledges that she lied 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago, whatever it was,
Yep.
that's frustrating. That's frustrating because in any other instance, right? If this were to happen and we find out that she's not telling the truth, we would then have a big scene of dissecting what actually happened. But because it's Meredith, we're not going to get into it because it goes flip flop. And she goes, I'm constantly getting dragged no matter what I do. For weeks, I've been getting dragged, blah, blah, blah. Yes, you have. Fair. You have yet to actually have a conversation about it. I can't wait to read our comments because I've seen how many Meredith stands there are for this episode. But you haven't answered for anything yet. And you just admitted to lying. And instead of talking about that lie, you sidestep it and say, I've been getting dragged for weeks. It's just, I need more, dude.
Yeah, she's not in a position of power where she can say things like this. That's really where we are. And again, we agree. You've been getting dragged, and a lot of it has been unnecessary.
Yes.
So I understand that. But if you left it right then and there and just said, I'm tired of being attacked. I don't really feel like doing this. Every time I open my mouth, I feel like one of you guys has something to say. So I'm just not going to say anything. And I don't really want to be here anymore. You could leave it at that. But once you start using specific details about what's going on from your point of view, it's going to look weird and it's not going to make a ton of sense. And that's, again, why I don't really understand why so many people have Meredith's back. The way it played out is the way that it should have played out.
Yeah.
This is exactly what should have happened. Everything kind of came to a head. Things were boiling over for one reason or another. People have agendas. People have jobs. They want to feed their families. They have to show up for this job. And this is what you get when you don't answer to the things that you have done. You could have done so many things. This is becoming a recurring theme in Housewives shows.
I know.
You could have done so many things to just get the heat off of your back, at least a little bit. And you would have won over enough people because enough people dislike Heather and Whitney, especially when they team up. You would have been fine. And then you have Lisa in your corner no matter what. And she's in such a good position because she finally came out of whatever funk that she was in. She's so much stronger now. She's got your back and she'll be able to knock anybody away. But every time that you do this, you always do the woe is me and then say that you did nothing to deserve that. And yes, again, we agree. It's been a little overblown and it's a little nitpicky and people have agendas. Yeah. But you're not doing anything to help yourself. And by deny, it's not going to work.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. And again, I'm not like rah Bronwyn, way to go, because the way that Bronwyn's approaching it, you would think that they've been best friends since they were kids.
Yeah,
she's like, how much do I have to bleed for you, and this, that, the other. It's like, why did you pledge your allegiance and fealty to Meredith, and when did that happen? She's like, I'm the only one like she said that when they were arguing earlier on. I was the only one that defended you for this, only one for that. Da, 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 da. Yeah, but why did you do all that? And why are you acting like you guys are related? Like, it's not that deep, Bronwyn. I don't know why you're getting so upset about it.
Now the third time. So fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. The third time shouldn't fucking happen, Bronwyn.
No.
You put yourself in this position too. I'm sorry. But you trusted Meredith and maybe you started drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit and you were hanging out with Mary talking about being concerned about Meredith. And when she texted you, you said, okay, I got to go be there for my friend. And maybe you deluded yourself into thinking that you're closer because Meredith reached out. But she's done this twice. And she's twice on this trip shown that she's using the information that you're giving her against the person of the subject. And you're the one who's getting burned. Meredith isn't even answering for those crimes. You are now being looked at and you're being scrutinized. So I don't really care if you're upset.
Yeah,
you did this to yourself at this point.
Yeah. So like both sides of this one, I'm like, you both stink in this moment because that was ridiculous. I don't know why you're so invested. It makes no sense to me unless you're just trying to.
Seriously,
quote unquote crying. Like, I think that was
crying
like
at the end of the episode was hilarious.
Oh my God, dude. You would think that somebody just died. Crying. It was insane. But anyway, we get to the last night in Greece, but not before one more. Look how beautiful.
Wow, look at that.
I was so happy when she walked out and said, look how beautiful. I'm like, I wish I think over under was like 9 or 10. Look how beautiful's on this whole trip. I expect nothing less. I know you're over the Greek shit. Just
smash the over.
Hit me in the face with the Greek shit. I think it's hysterical. I'm not tired of it yet. But we get to this beautiful venue to have this play. And again, just to give everyone a rundown, this play is based on these women. They spoke to Stella earlier. She wrote a play for them that they are going to now act out. I was so excited, and Dev and I were talking before this actually played out. And I was like, this is either going to be incredible or awful. I thought that it was incredible. I loved this.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Not I even got to the point where I said to myself, I want this to happen at the end of every good Housewife season.
Yes.
But no, actually, I don't. I'm so happy with this moment. I don't want it to be overplayed. I think it was absolutely perfectly done. It was really good. Like, even just objectively speaking, it was kind of cool. It's a quick little play about, even if it's people that I don't know, it's still well done. The performers were great. Stella wrote a great piece in an afternoon.
Exceptional writing.
Just unbelievable stuff.
Yeah, well done, everybody involved. But anyway, the play begins. Not before Brittany has to say, do we serve ourselves? Do you see anybody standing there, Brittany? Anyway.
She also called herself a lush, but I'm going to leave that one alone.
Yeah, that's not...
We're done with that. We've moved on. Everybody's an alcoholic. Let's move on.
I can't keep going back. But I also have to... Did you see when she was packing up her... What was that? A trunk that she took on this trip?
Yeah.
Did you see the amount of stuffed animals on the bed?
Yeah.
Yeah. Were they all Jared stuffies?
I doubt it.
We get a Jared stuffy at the reunion.
Maybe she's like a... Well, you know what?
Don't
She's a serial dater. Nope. Nope. That's not what I was going to say.
Okay.
I'm going to liken serial dater to serial killer, and she's got little trophies of every man that she's dated, and it's a stuffy
with their voice and the stitching.
No, I think that's why
hair.
Jared is still around, is because he went above and beyond and put his voice in there. And she said, "Whoa, this is great. I'm going to keep you around."
Oh, okay, all right. But the play begins. Behold the daughters of Salt, 8 born of one house, the sisters of Salt, who were beautiful and blah, blah, blah. But the world did not see the war. Hook, line, and sinker. I'm in. It's like, hell yeah, what an intro. But as we're going through it, all it is the most eloquent reading and dragging of an entire group in one fell swoop. I mean, it was genius. And the first one up in line is Heather the Defector, is what she's called. This was spot on. This nailed it. This is the best explanation of Heather I've ever heard. You're a joke wrapped in mascara. You laugh because crying would make you real, and the laughter drowns out the realness. Bang.
Yeah,
that's exactly
absolutely perfect. It was absolutely perfect. Now, my question is, Stella sat down with all of the individual women. Did she just ask each of them, and I guess production probably lined this up perfectly, but I imagine she asked each of them, what or how would you describe yourself? And then how would you describe this person? I doubt that they were sitting there. It's not like the Monique moment in Potomac where you have to write down something about every single person on the cast. They probably just focused on one person, right?
I would imagine that she had everyone. I would think she has everybody's name, because the interesting thing was what she said or who she said what. That's a confusing sentence.
Really line up, yeah.
It didn't correlate. So I think maybe she was trying to be like, all right, what she said may not have actually been what she said. It could have been what someone else said. But I do think that they probably covered all their bases just so she would have enough material to write a play in an afternoon.
Yeah.
But regardless, she nails that one to Heather. I was like very impressed with that. I got really excited to what was next. She goes, Heather to Bronwyn. Bronwyn, she's not two-faced. She's no-faced. This is the one that I want to chat about. And I'm not a huge Bronwyn fan. Like, I'm not like, oh, Bronwyn's the GOAT. I guess I don't see what these ladies have said about her and what this is now. Like, I know she's kind of wishy-washy. I know she's trying to figure out where she lands in this group. I know she says one thing to one person, will say something else to somebody else. But no-faced, I was just kind of confused.
I think I could probably articulate it a little bit better. Now, this one came from Lisa, as we saw, because they flashed right back to Lisa talking to Stella. The way I took it was, because she has no place in this group, she doesn't know what she's doing. She's not loyal necessarily to anyone.
Okay.
She's not two-faced, so she's not immediately stabbing you in the back, but she's not really a good person necessarily or a good friend because she has no place. So she just kind
No
of floats
allegiance.
around and does whatever she wants. But then eventually, obviously, everything comes blowing back up in her face.
Yeah, and that is true. So that does
Yeah.
make sense. Okay. Yeah, the lack of, and I mean, she says as much herself later, but the lack of loyalty to anybody means she's loyal to no one.
Correct.
Okay, cool. And the actual line read, loyalty is like a party favor. You collect secrets like trinkets, which those are both true. So I think what I took from that is she fakes concern a lot, especially as we've seen with Meredith. That will never make sense why she's so invested. So she does fake concern, and she takes a lot of private convos, right? And she acts in those convos concerned, even with Brittany in the dressing room. Like she was playing into it while rolling her eyes on the outside, which is fine. But you then take that info and you give it to somebody else, and then you get burned. We've watched that happen over and over again. So
Yeah.
you're shooting yourself in the foot by just maybe keep a couple secrets to yourself. Tuck that one away for a while. You don't have to go to the person and say, you're never going to believe. But that's the other thing. The way that it comes out, I think in her head, she thinks if I say this the right way, it's not gossip. It's just a statement.
Yeah. I think that's a fair assessment for what she's doing.
So we go Bronwyn to Lisa. You wear wealth like a shield. You're a queen amongst servants. You think everybody's beneath you. You're incapable of saying I was wrong. All true.
Yeah,
That
this
is-
one was, we don't really have a really hard time figuring this one out. This is not
Nope.
a puzzle. This is very straightforward. I think this was the most straightforward out of all of them. Maybe not Brittany's, actually. Brittany's was the most scathing, I would say. But again,
I
she
thought
did it to
Whitney's was
herself.
the most scathing too.
Whitney seemed, because I was watching all of their faces in the crowd as they were going through, depending on who was talking about what. Whitney seemed to at least understand it, because like my whole thing, and we get into it with Brahman later, who cares at the end of the day? Like, we know it's not like Stella's watching the show and making these indictments about you. This came from somebody else. Well, maybe she is. This came from somebody else in the group. Of course, this shit's coming from the group. Just fucking wear it like a badge of honor. And it looks like Whitney at least took it okay. Bronwyn was visibly upset during this. Lisa took it pretty well as well. But again, this is all shit that we've been hearing about Lisa all season. So this was not surprising.
Right. And it made me think further into the psyche of Lisa Barlow, because she is an onion. She's layered, and I know I'm harsh on her sometimes, but I also sing her praises when she deserves it. And she deserves praise a lot because she is very good at her job.
It's like being hard on the star player.
Right, exactly. You hold them
You
to a different
expect more.
standard.
You know that they've got higher talent. Yeah.
Correct. I'll talk about her shit actually when we get to the wrap up at the end. But we go LB to Angie. Your tongue is like daggers, and you always want to be the best. But I thought hers was the most gentle. It's just you talk shit, which yeah, totally.
Cool. Very
and then
cool.
you get Angie to Brittany. This was rough. Like, you're just childish noise. And Mary laughs out loud, which was very funny. And you seek the attention of men. You barely notice. Oh, in seeking the attention of men, you barely notice your kids fading into the background. So you got called dumb, a child, and a bad mom. That's tough. And I don't know if it landed though, because she just had like a blank stare. She's like,
I don't think she was paying attention, to be honest.
she was going to get another appetizer.
Yeah.
But moving right along, we go Brittany to Mary. Your blade is sharpened by truth, and your words sting, but even the righteous must bend. So once again, you talk shit, but you do it from a place of truth. And sometimes you need to bend in when people are saying things to you because you're so steadfast and it's your way or the highway.
Yeah.
Yes, but not very mean. That's pretty okay, whatever.
Not very mean. I think that the takeaway from that is you say things, and just because they're true doesn't mean they're not rude. That's kind of the way that I took it. And I'm okay with that too. I know a lot of people online were like, "What? Since when is Mary the soothsayer?" It's like, well, I mean, the shit that she says to people, it's mean, but it's true for the most part.
Always true.
It's usually pretty true. When she says things about herself, sure, you can question that, but when she's talking about other people, it's definitely true.
But that's why I feel like this whole thing and the the analysis of this episode by the masses is being skewed because of Whitney and Heather.
Right.
Because Mary is lumped in with them at the end when shit pops off and she decides to go in a little bit. And people have an issue with that. Like, where the fuck did this come from? It's like, I don't think that's the same. I don't think that's what we're seeing from Dumb and Dumber over there. And I think she's getting lumped in unfairly. But save it for when we get there. We're saving a lot of shit for later. Brittany to Mary, we did that. Mary to Whitney. People feel compelled to dismiss you as a shadow. You're a flirt, a body with no head. You're going to speak. You need to speak up if people are going to consider you more than a decoration. It wasn't the most scathing as far as the words said, but the message behind it, I thought, would be really hard for somebody to hear if they actually understood what she's saying. She's saying you're such an airhead that all you bring to the table is your looks and you are so irrelevant that people barely notice you exist. That's fucking mean.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's very mean. And also, it just doesn't hit the point because I feel like Whitney's been trying and trying and trying to do things. And it's not that people aren't hearing her. It's just that they don't give a fuck. So I think that maybe you could tweak it a little bit here and there. I'm being, a little nitpicky here, but at the same time, it looked again like Whitney either maybe you're right, maybe she just didn't even hear it. And maybe that is very true, actually. Maybe it went in one ear and out the other, and she didn't realize what was going on.
I think she heard it. I don't know if she was able to break it down the way it was intended.
Yeah, maybe not. Or she just simply didn't care. She may have just had the right attitude going into this because it seemed like, again, Angie's wasn't that bad, but her and Angie stood out to me as like, okay, this isn't that serious. I don't really care too much.
Yeah, so maybe it's that. Maybe I'll give her credit instead of adding to
why
Stella's shit talk. We get Whitney to Meredith. This is the best line said. I think you hide behind semantics. I was like, abso-fucking-lutely. Amen. Say it again. And arguing with you is like shouting into a maze. You are a mixture of brilliance and confusion. That is Meredith Marks in 3 sentences. It was
perfect.
Fantastic. It was so well said, and I was hoping that it landed. And that's what I'm going to talk about when we get to Meredith's part at the end. But they all of the actresses drink the Kool-Aid, and they all commit suicide, and for the first time ever, the house goes silent. The message being, you are nothing without these people around you. You think you're this and that, but it's actually your sisters that make you who you are. So be nice to each other, which was a very sweet moment.
I thought it was a good way to end it. I thought that it was a very nice way, a very hopeful way to end that play, even though everybody drank the Kool-Aid and died. But this is where you can go. If you guys stand alone and keep doing what you're doing, you're just going to end up killing yourselves. That's what I took away from it. So come together and have some moments, because I do think, and it's a weird scene to go back to as a reference point, but when Heather brought up that Brittany is very accomplished and everybody was just talking over each other, talking about their own accomplishments, there you go, right then and there.
Example.
Very individualistic. You're not really having each other's backs. You guys don't really do a whole lot here and there, and you don't come together as a group that often. That's kind of what we got this season.
Yeah, and I think if you take it a step further with that, I think that's actually, it seems obscure, but that's a really good reference point, because even the way that Heather sets it up, instead of just saying, well, you know what, I think we don't give Brittany enough slack. She's actually very accomplished, period. That's fine. But when you throw in there more accomplished than, you're trying to incite some anger out of the group. So even the way that they try to compliment one another always comes with a little slap in the face to everybody else. So I do think that that's a really good point. So nice callback. Now let's get to the aftermath, the fallout. And I have a very, very big thing to say about this one. And I don't think I've been this frustrated at Whitner and Heathy ever, because we're going through it and everyone's pretty much in agreement. She nailed it. That was great. We're wasting our friendships. Our sisters help make us us. Meredith even chimes in. That's true. We should just give up the game and be real. Bronwyn is, I'll get to Bronwyn because it goes for a while, but just in that beginning part, right? And then we go through each one talking, and then we'll actually get to what was said from each person. But I just want to jump to this. What was being set in motion here was a very nice scene. It was a scene that we could end this season on, give us some hope going into the reunion, knowing that things will fall apart between some of them, but we're finally seeing the group attempt to resolve. Meredith is on board. Lisa's on board. Mary's somewhat on board. You can see her kind of smirking and making faces in the background, But for the most part, you have a united front here. There is absolutely zero fucking reason to try to pull a Heather and derail it by your big moment at the end of the season. That was so misplaced. It was so stupid, and it completely throws everything. That whole play you just sat through, the things that Bronwyn was saying about herself, Lisa, she gets into her thing. We had a lot of really nice sentimental moments. And then bang, Heather has to throw a fucking anvil in there and just ruin all of it. It's so frustrating, and it's the epitome of what she does at the end of seasons with her lackey to the side of her, Cuzzo number 2, jumping in and trying to have her moment. And guys, this wasn't a moment to have a moment. This was a moment that everyone could sit together and be like, kumbaya, let's go on to next season. See you at the reunion where we're going to hash shit out. Shit will fall apart. We don't need Heather forcing a moment at the end of the season to have interesting things happen at the reunion.
Yeah. I mean, it's just something that we've gotten used to now. I do think the way it unfolded was kind of funny. I mean, Bronwyn's fucking breakdown.
Yeah, we can go through everybody.
Yeah, yeah, we can go through everybody because I thought that it was actually really nice that Lisa took some responsibility and she
thought it was
agreed.
great.
It was very, very. There was a lot of really good self-reflection in this group. Now, Bronwyn's was ridiculous, but we can go through the crew very quickly. Everybody seemed to be on board and they seemed to be owning up to the things that were said in the play. And it was nice. I agree with you. If they ended it there, yeah, of course it's going to fall apart in the reunion, but it's a nice way to end it. And then you don't have to make any changes to the cast. Everybody can come back. We can see what happens in the off season, whatever. But the way they worked through it was great until they got to Bronwyn. And then she had like a fucking mental breakdown.
Oh, see, I disagree. I thought that, yeah, it was over the top once again, but I just appreciate the self-awareness aspect, because that is what is her problem, is the loyalty thing, the sense of abandonment. It just plays into exactly what we talked about earlier. She's not wrong, but it's exacerbated to a point where some people, I didn't have that reaction. I completely understand why you had that reaction and why anybody else had that. Like, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Wow. What an act that you just put on. But at the same time, the stuff she's saying. Totally.
My problem was the tone shift, because it went from, it's sort of upbeat, but also in the sense of, yeah, all those things that they were saying up there, they are true. I can own that. I am self-absorbed. I do this. I do that. I do whatever. Bronwyn over the top rope. I don't know about you guys, but I'm appalled and embarrassed about and horrified about the things that I just heard. Okay, take a break, take a breather. Let's relax a little bit. Very big tone shift. People were happy, and you could look around the room like, oh my God, yeah, you agree with that? That's great. I don't want you to be too hard on yourself, because there's no reason to be hard on yourself. This was a very normal, real moment where it's like, okay, we can all say something about each other, but to say something about myself in this moment that is self-reflective is really nice. Wow, that's really upbeat. I am horrified at the things all right. Take a fucking chill pill. Relax a little bit. It's not that deep. It's just some shit that people are saying. You can reflect on it a little bit more later if you'd like to. Maybe you take it home to Todd and you have a discussion with Todd about it. You don't have to do this whole thing now. However, the end result of Bronwyn doing that did throw everybody into chaos, which I did appreciate.
Yeah, and I think it did allow for further self-reflection to a deeper level with the rest of the group. Because again, for me, the fact that everything she said was true, despite the theatrics of it all, was enough for me to be like, all right, at least you're owning up to that shit. And I would be remiss not to mention, in her confessional, and I'm assuming this is pre-Todd separation, that line about Todd was so fucking forced. It's like, and even Todd, who I choose to be with, who I love very much, who I blah, blah, blah. Lady, we watched the season. We know where you stand. We know what's going on. You don't have to try. This is the same as when the ladies asked you what's going on with Todd, and you're like, oh, we're all good. The day after you said that he was texting some chick on the airplane. So that was really funny. But I do think that Bronwyn set the tone to have a fantastic Lisa Barlow moment, because this is the most self-aware and self-reflective I have ever heard Lisa. I've wanted to hear this shit for 6 years, and I was so happy that I did. It shows why, once again, she's one of the top tier housewives across the board, because she goes into her shit and she's like, that made me sad, because I hide behind my things, and in my head It's a sign of accomplishment for me because of all the pressure I put on myself. I had to take care of my sisters growing up. I expect a lot out of myself. I'm disappointed in myself most of the time. Even JB husband boss comes into it. I have a lot of expectations for me. And in turn, I think it's a lot for JB husband boss. I think that it weighs on him as well. All of these things make me sad. And you know what, ladies? I need my friends. Angie, I have a deep
Mhm.
love for you. Even when I hate you, I love you. Angie, I love you too, Lisa. It makes me so sad. This is the most kumbaya we've seen these two since the first time they got together on season 3 or 4 or whatever. 4. So, or 3. Was she 3? She was a friend of on 3, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. But we see them have a genuine, real moment. I would absolutely love a reuniting of Lisa and Angie. I don't think it's ever going to happen fully, but I would really like that. The trio of Angie, Meredith, and Lisa would be electric.
It would
I
be.
don't think we're
It,
going to
it
get it.
absolutely would be. Now, I do think that we will get it. I think that that's what
Oh,
we've been kind
interesting.
of gearing up towards. And if you notice during all of this, Angie was pretty quiet about the whole thing.
Yep.
Now, everybody seemed to have a stance on it. The two that pretty much sat it out, Brittany, because, well, let's be honest, nobody wants to hear what she has to say. But Angie didn't really get involved in anything. She didn't really pick a side. She was just an innocent bystander. And I wonder if that's because of what Lisa just said. And we've been gearing up towards this. We've had a couple of moments throughout. If you go back to the poster board scene right afterwards, it seems like those two were on the mend, and then they weren't. But then they really haven't gotten into it the rest of the season.
That's a
So
good
it
point.
actually seemed to me like an actual friendship where it's like, all right, I respect you, you respect me, but we're going to kind of take a little bit of space from each other. We're not going to
Mhm.
be up each other's asses. We're also not going to bring a bunch of things to other people's attention. We're not going to go after each other. They weren't rude to each other. They had a
Mhm.
couple of nicer moments as a group, but not really one on one. And then this told me a lot, especially after what Lisa said, which was awesome. We get to a point where I don't think Angie really wants to go against Lisa. I think that she really does want to be friends with her. So I think it wouldn't be that surprising. Now, I know in the off season and online and stuff, there were a lot of things traded back and forth. I wouldn't be surprised that we start next season and they're working on their friendship again.
Those two, yeah. I'm talking about a trio of Lisa, Angie, and Meredith. I don't see that happening. Lisa
I
and Angie
don't
reuniting, I
know.
could see, but
I
the
think
three of
if
them, I don't
Lisa and
know.
Angie get back together and Meredith's still on the show, I think they'll be friends by proxy and
I
they'll
hope
be
so.
on the same side of things. I don't know if we're going to see some sort of budding romance between the two of them.
That's fair. And I think the best thing to have moved that friendship along is Angie acknowledging, I haven't been here for you. And that's true. And she tries to say that about Lisa. And it's true to a certain extent. But I will say this: Lisa will show up for you, as we see with Meredith, if you show up for her. But I don't think she's going to extend that arm first. So I
Right.
think that by her acknowledging that and not saying, because usually we get I haven't been here for you, but it was just period. I haven't been here for you. Lisa needs that, even if she's not in the right. Like she just needs that little comfort blanket of, I acknowledge your feelings. And you could get right back in there with her. So I thought that was a great way to end it before we get over to Meredith. And once again, I was frustrated by Meredith's. Lisa went deep in on herself. A lot of self-reflection. Bronwyn clearly went big on it. Meredith doesn't talk about herself other than there's parallels of hiding behind belongings and words. But then she goes into, I was trained to use words. There's power in words. They can cause a lot of joy and harm. I'm very sensitive. I don't like being told I'm something I'm not. I'm afraid of betrayal. I'm afraid of letting people in. I'm afraid. Fine. But at the same time, none of those are, I need to work on this. It's all, I'm sensitive and you guys keep talking shit. This is a you
Yeah.
problem, not a me problem. And that's
Yeah.
frustrating.
It's more of the same with more words.
Mhm. Exactly. And that's where the irritation comes in for me, where it's like, just fake it. Fake this moment. Say
Yeah.
some shit you don't mean. I don't know, but that's all
Say
you got.
and we've been on this since season 4, but say I do have a bad habit of using information that I hear from other people against people that are doing me wrong. And I really need to stop doing that. If you just said that, I think that's a good blanket statement. It doesn't really get into any specifics, but no one's really getting into specifics. They're using very generalized ideas,
Yeah.
but it's still more than we've seen from a lot of them. If you just said that, I think it would put everything to bed. It would relax a little bit. Yeah, I've been really nervous. I've been really anxious about a lot of things. My behavior has been a little erratic because I'm anxious. You could blame that on anything, and it would take away from whatever anybody else is about to say, and it would put you in a much better position. But this was very much it almost sounds rehearsed almost to me, where it's like bringing up I was a lawyer, I was taught words have meaning, and not saying words also has meaning. It's like, okay, you're not really saying anything though.
You're
Just
lawyering
saying,
right now.
yeah, you're lawyering right now. Everybody else is opening up and you're doing what you're trained to do. It's not like you're a practicing lawyer right now that's having a hard time breaking the mold. You're doing the same thing that you've been doing all season and the last couple of seasons.
But where I will give her credit, if I'm in this setting right now, and that's what she gives us, right? And she's in tears. And I do believe the tears because they were running down her face.
Yeah.
That should be enough for the moment. You guys have been talking about your concern for her, you're worried about her. If there really is something going on, you're not going to crack that shell the first go. But she opened up ever so slightly to the point that she's having an emotional response. She's telling
Yeah.
you she's afraid. That should be enough for everybody in this moment to just be like, thanks, Meredith. That's
Yeah.
good for
Let's
now.
back off.
Yeah, but instead, Heather sees her opening and decides to double down on the Bronwyn lunch thing and completely derails everything. The tone, as you said, the tone shifted from happy to sad to angry. Well, Meredith, this, that with the lunch and blah, blah, blah. And what Heather fails to realize by doing this, Meredith has not answered for anything. Meredith has not talked about anything you guys have asked her about. She's not opening up now, but she opened up enough that this reaction from Heather is going to give her a great defense of, see, told you, I just opened
Yep.
up and you're yelling again. And it completely shuts the door on any potential questioning, any potential answers. We're done now because you can't contain yourself, Heather. And even if that wasn't bad enough, Whitney comes over the top rope and try to have a healing moment at the wrong time once again. And I blame Stella for saying that she should speak up more. No, she
Yeah.
shouldn't.
That's a really good point. Now, I mean, more so going into Mary's thing, and I do see a lot of people online saying, it seems like she might be projecting a little bit, and maybe she is a little bit, but I do genuinely believe Mary's concern, and I do
Same.
genuinely believe that she wants what's best for Meredith. And you can say whatever you want. If you were saying that she's projecting a little bit, I kind of believe you, but Meredith's behavior has been erratic. It's been all over the place. She's had a lot of very weird moments that do point to certain things. I'm not calling anything out, but it points to a couple of things and a little inconsistencies. And there are some things that you want to talk about as a concerned friend. So Mary going into that whole spiel, which I think regulated things a little bit more. Obviously, we know what Heather and Whitney are trying to do. But Mary coming from a point of concern is the way to get Meredith to open up and start talking. I do think, and she did try to do this one-on-one right after the plane scene. I do think one-on-one Mary and Meredith, it would be a
She
much
tried.
different conversation. She tried to do that. Meredith did not open up. So this might be a little bit more effective. And it's something that's burning on Mary's brain. And this is a great way to do it. You want to know what happened at the fucking lunch? This is what happened at the lunch. We were concerned for you. I thought this was a great moment. And if you're going to pick a moment from this finale that you're going to remember moving forward that actually steered us in the right direction and got us back on task, it's Mary's speech. Because I thought it was really well done. She didn't misspeak on anything. She told Meredith exactly what's going on and brought Bronwyn into the fold as well, which I think was so effective. But
Yeah.
again, it's going to get derailed by other people who have different agendas. And right afterwards, right when Heather starts talking, she starts crying. And I
Yeah.
think what Heather was crying about is that Mary stole her thunder. This is Heather's
Probably.
moment. This is what she wants to do the whole time. And Heather starts crying because Mary had a much better moment, a much more impactful moment in the finale. And she's got a countdown in her head like, fuck, this is the finale. We've got about 36 minutes left. I got to do something. I got to do something. Oh, fuck, Mary's talking. Oh, wow, that's really good. Oh, no. Oh, oh, God, I got to cry. And that's pretty much what happened.
She's crying for her lost moment.
Yeah.
I believe that. Like, that's where we're at now because of this ridiculous act that you have put on for us is what are you crying about right now?
Mm-hmm.
This is not that deep. You just watched a play, and a lot of people are having deep moments, but there's no reason to be in tears over this because you're
No.
feigning concern. I don't believe that you're that concerned about Meredith. I do believe Mary is. And as far as the projection goes, yeah, I think that there is a level to that, but I think we shouldn't confuse projection for lack of concern. In her experience, and I can even give Whitney credit for this too, because when Whitney says, "I'm sorry I called you a pill popper and an alcoholic," I jumped to that conclusion because when I saw this behavior, this is my experience with my dad. I
It was
shouldn't
a
have labeled
much
you
better
that.
way to say that. So
Absolutely.
much better because all the things that she's been saying so far, and we've been giving her a hard time. I've been giving her a hard time because again, we haven't talked about your dad since season 1. So what the fuck are we doing here? This was a much better way to do it. I don't think you should have explicitly said again, alcoholic and pill
No,
popper. You should have just said, I called you names and I gave you assignments or I labeled you as this or that or whatever, but don't say them specifically. But again, this is a much better way to get there and it's a much better way to connect. And I think it actually landed with Meredith because
I
she
do too.
allowed Whitney to talk. We haven't seen her allow Whitney to talk, especially in this moment, especially once you get to this point. Usually Meredith walks away, but she allowed Whitney to talk, even pushed a couple other people away to let Whitney finish her sentences. And I thought that it was way more impactful than, again, what she's been doing the last couple of episodes.
I agree. And I think that's you draw a comparison to that and what Mary is doing for people like you're projecting. Yes, but there's more to it. It doesn't take away
Yeah.
from the fact that she's projecting because one, in her experience, these signs point to what's going on with Robert Jr. That does not mean that's what's going on with Meredith, but that's going to be where she leans.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that she is not concerned as a friend because you can't deny that she actually gives a shit about Meredith. We've seen it for multiple years, but the overall sentiment that's relayed to Meredith, and somehow this got lost in the discourse online as well. This is a group of women that you spend a lot of time with, at least during the season before you fly back to New York. And they're all telling you, we're concerned about you. We're worried. We're genuinely worried about what's going on. I'm very curious what this conversation looks like without Heather and Whitney there. But honestly, dude, I don't think it goes any different. I don't think she opens up. I don't think that she
No,
hears what their friends are saying and be like, oh, you know what? If everybody's saying it, maybe I should take at least a half a step back. Instead, I'm fine. I'm okay. Stop talking about me. I'm good. I'm leaving. This is the
I
same exact MO that we've seen Meredith do when she's put up against anything.
Yeah, I'm less concerned about what this conversation looks like without Whitney and Heather, and more concerned about what this conversation looks like and how it finalizes without Bronwyn.
Okay.
Because I do think Meredith could be in a better spot. Maybe there are a couple of spillover comments and conversations that needed to be had with other people. Maybe Heather and Whitney go over and talk to Meredith. She hears them out. She hears out Heather. Heather kind of changes her tune a little bit. A lot of those things could have happened
Okay.
if it weren't for Bronwyn. And this
Yeah.
was my big sticking point. This is why, again, early in the episode, I had no problem with what Bronwyn was doing. This is fucking bullshit. This
Yeah,
is
this is wild.
projection of your dumbass marriage that's falling apart and has now fallen apart. What the fuck are we doing? This was worse than you bringing it up at lunch. Why, at this juncture, do we need to say and double down and pile on to the point of we actually have some semblance of a breakthrough with Meredith a little bit? She's talking about herself. She's hearing people out. She's not storming off. This isn't the time or place. This tells me, one, I think you've got Heather syndrome. It's the end of the season. I got to get this out there.
Big
She's going
moment.
to see it regardless. I talked about it at lunch. We didn't talk about this part at lunch. We talked about our concern for you, but I did throw this one out there.
They
So I
did
might as
talk
well
about it
say
at
it to your
lunch, but
face.
it was shoehorned in at the end, but she did bring it up at
Yeah.
lunch. It was
Yeah,
still
she brought
forced.
it up at lunch, and Mary wasn't going to burn her. But again,
Mhm.
it's on camera. You're going to have to fucking talk about it at the reunion. So I think this is when we've seen Brahma do this before, and sometimes we praise her for it. This isn't one of those situations because this is not time or place.
No, not at all. And it's 100% projection and not in a way, but it did connect all of the dots for me as to where this quote unquote concern for Meredith came from. It's
Yeah.
because you see yourself in Meredith without
Hmm.
the actual evidence that you have against yourself. So you're trying to, in so many ways, save Meredith. So you have this weird concern that's not actual concern, it's selfish needs for yourself because I don't know what the end goal is. If Meredith's going through it too, at least you're not alone, or you're trying to point at Meredith so people stop pointing at you. I don't know, but time and place 100%, because by bringing this up, you have derailed everything. We're hanging on by a thread right now. No pun intended.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
pun
like that.
definitely intended.
That
Yeah.
was absolutely intended. But we're hanging by a thread to keep this conversation pointed in a direction where we're getting any kind of resolve and resolution. By throwing that out there, it's like a Hail Mary at the end that you're never going to complete. It's Tanner McKee throwing the ball 10 yards out of bounds on the last play of the fucking game last week. It just does not service anything that we're trying to accomplish as an audience, as a cast. And now, once again, because we did it already, by Heather jumping in, you have given Meredith an out to leave. She's no longer going to talk about shit because you can't keep your mouth shut. We somehow reeled her back in ever so slightly thanks to Mary. And now this is the last kick she needs. Boop, she's off the boat. We literally brought her back to the group for a second.
Yep.
And now she's gone. And now you have Lisa, who kudos to her, whether you agree with it or not. I do wish there was moments where she didn't speak on Meredith's behalf, so Meredith would be forced to talk and answer for things. But at the same time, you can't question the loyalty as a friend. Her jumping in because that question was bullshit. Well, I did see Seth with a woman. It's like, well, and then for Bronwyn to be like, well, I'm not implying anything. It's like, what the fuck do you think that implies, dude? Like, come on.
Yeah.
But we were so close to maybe getting a little bit more. And instead, you just fucking 300 kicked her down that well.
Yeah, I have zero problem with Lisa coming to Meredith's defense at this
Yeah.
point. There were other situations throughout the season where it's like, okay, let Meredith talk. She does need to answer for her crimes. This is not one of them. That
No.
was unbelievable bullshit pulled by Bronwyn. Lisa, thankfully, comes to Meredith's defense because I don't know what's going to go on in Meredith's mind. She thankfully just ignores it, moves on, walks away. I'm fucking out of here. I'm not doing this bullshit. I just had, like you said, a little kumbaya moment where maybe we can all move forward as a group and you guys will get off my fucking back. As soon as we have that moment, you're going to throw this one out there.
Exactly.
Even Heather and Whitney are like, what the fuck is going on? Why are we doing this? This is even too much for us. Like, this is crazy. So Lisa coming to Meredith's defense is 1,000% warranted here.
Yeah.
I'm completely cool with it. Also, it shows where your allegiance is. That was bullshit. I'm with Meredith. I don't give a fuck what you guys are talking about. And then that's when everybody starts to scramble too, because now you've got those two talking over there about what's going on. Lisa's just trying to calm Meredith down, keep her there, doesn't want to jump on a plane right away. Let's just relax. It'll just be me and you. Don't worry about these toxic people over there. Oh, yeah, you're going to call us toxic? We can hear you. Shut up, Heather. Just shut up. This has nothing to do with you anymore. You sit there quietly. You talk to the other people around you. Everybody should be looking at Brahmin like, what the fuck? Instead, we get, which was one of my favorite Mary lines of all time, looking down at Bronwyn very nicely. Hey, look at you. You're okay. Look how you stand by Todd. Whoa, that is fucking awesome to say. I don't think Bronwyn knew how to react to that, but Mary meant it in a very nice way. Like, hey, you're a good friend. You're very loyal. You're standing up for yourself. You're standing up for your friend and Meredith. Look at how you stand by Todd after all the shit that he's done. It's like, oh, God.
You are loyal to the wrong people, but you are loyal. That's what she was saying. Yeah, it was a frustrating way to end because there was no reason to go that route. There was no reason to take it a step further by bringing up the Seth stuff in that moment. Look, do I think that Seth and Meredith are happily in love? Absolutely not. I don't really care to say that. It doesn't matter.
No.
I don't think that their marriage is going well. I don't think things are good at home. I think that that is the root of most of the issues we're seeing with Meredith. That being said, cast, if you guys put on your thinking caps and start putting some pieces together and you can come to the conclusion, Bronwyn, if you did see that, and I do believe she saw Seth in New York. I don't think she pulled that out of her ass. If you did see that, instead of bringing that to her, maybe continue to try to just let her know that you're there should she ever want to have that conversation.
Yeah.
But you cannot make her do anything. And that's why Meredith pushes away from everybody so much. When you go after her, you're doing it from the lens of you have to do this. You have to do this. You have to answer for this, rather than what a friend would do and go up and say, hey, what's going on? And keep asking, even if it's getting annoying. Do it from a place of I care about you. If you want to convince me that you do give a shit, then actually convince her that you give a shit, because you haven't.
Yeah.
And I think that's Meredith's biggest sticking point with the I'm afraid to let people in. Yeah, I would be too, honestly, if this is the way that it goes down every time. That being said, it's not an excuse for every single time shit pops off. And yes, sometimes you're going to have to answer for your shit and you have yet to do it. That is beyond frustrating to me. We talk about it every season. I'm not letting her off the hook by any means. In this moment, I get it.
Yeah, it makes total sense. Now, I imagine we have a million questions to get to here.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to
Finale's
do our
always
best. We're going to do
we'll
our
answer
best
as many as
here.
we can.
First one up here. Let's get this out of the way right now from Ryan Stoneman 83. What's with all the Heather hate? I don't like it.
Yeah, it's shocker.
Yeah, not
Shocker.
surprised by that one.
I just
don't even know if
assume
I
you're
would-
on the other side of the street when we do this stuff.
Her shtick is just tired, to put it
Yeah.
very plainly.
From the Jewelster, can every franchise be forced to watch a play about them? Although I would love that to a certain degree, I think it would cheapen what we got to watch in this. And I'm not a big fan of replicating moments from shows on different shows. I think that it is lazy, but
Yeah.
I would definitely enjoy seeing it again. I just don't want to cheapen the moment because we got a great scene from that.
Yeah, absolutely. From Popadilly, Bronwyn seems to be the new queen. Nobody seems to be able to argue with her. Yeah, question mark. The scene in the Sprinter van I thought was necessary just because of what Meredith was doing and how
And that was good work by
asinine it
her, I
was.
thought.
It was good work by her. She clocked her and she shut her up. That was fine. But the thing at the end completely derails that. She's not the new queen.
No. I'll save that one for the end, Shauna Draper. That's a good one to end on. Yeah, see, from Makeup Lab, I'm trying to be Team Meredith, but she makes it hard when she shares nothing. Am I wrong? No, it is the conundrum of Meredith. There is a fantastic housewife in there, but it comes out few and far between.
From Sarah D. Hancock, do we think that Mary would have made some progress with Meredith if Whitney didn't butt in? Yes, I do
Probably.
think so. But I do also think, again, we're on a cast trip. It's the finale. They're exhausted. It's 4 days in, especially Meredith is exhausted. I don't know how far we would have gotten just based off of that, let alone what we've seen from Meredith in the past. But I
Yeah.
do think that we had a much better chance of Mary getting through to Meredith, or at the very least, and maybe this is off camera because she tried to do this off camera before, it at least set the stage and put a setting out there for we can talk later if you want to. So maybe they do that.
From MTV Miranda, did you guys like Lisa finally opening up and being vulnerable? I was impressed. I was floored. I thought it was real, heartfelt, and I thought it was one of her best moments as a housewife, honestly, because that was the piece that we've been missing from Lisa Barlow, and it shows that it's in there. That's all I needed. I don't need to see emotional Lisa, vulnerable Lisa every season, every episode. I just need to know that it's in there, and I got that, so I'm thrilled. I thought it was a great scene for her. Oh, that's funny. From Jennifer McEmber, Lisa, the elder sister. How pissed was she about that? Probably very.
I think that one went over her head. I didn't see a reaction from that one, but
Okay.
Angie and Angie and Whitney definitely heard that one.
Yeah.
From Jake Porper, if you could be reborn into one of their children, who would you guys choose as your mother?
Wait, what? What? Reborn to one of them?
If you could be reborn as one of their children, who would you choose to be your mother? This is a really
Angie,
tough one.
probably.
I think Angie. Yeah, I think Angie.
'Cause I've seen her as a mom on Wife Swap, and she was delightful. But we give this group credit all the time, minus one.
They are good
Very
moms.
big
It's
outlier,
just,
yeah.
would I want any of them to be my mom? No, I wouldn't.
No, it's a lot of drama and shit. But I would probably pick Angie or
Maybe Meredith, honestly.
LB, because I know she would really give a shit.
She would be so fucking overbearing.
Oh, I know, but
Against the wall.
she would care. You know, it's better
Yeah,
than
but-
going to. I definitely wouldn't pick Brittany
No.
unless you want to be emancipated at 10 years old. Oh, I want to talk about this one from Siobhan B. Ham. Can we admit this whole season was bad weather trying to take down Lisa and Meredith? I'm sick of it. Yes, but no. Like,
Yeah.
the
separately,
beginning,
not together.
right? And the beginning of the season, the attempt at the Lisa takedown was good. until it was completely derailed by, once again, Heather. But they weren't wrong in what they were trying to get out of her, especially after the poster board thing. Like, there were things to be answered for that we didn't get to because Heather did what Heather does and Whitney jumped in as well. With Meredith, it's same, but different because we've yet to see her answer for anything. All we do is watch her gaslight her way out of things. So I get what you're saying, Siobhan. I understand where you're coming from. I think it's more nuanced than that. I don't think it's just a bad weather takedown of those two because there were moments that those two needed to be checked. It's just the inability of Heather and Whitney to complete a checking left us wanting more, which leads people to go. And that's what pissed me off about this finale. It was a great finale, great season. But that's what pissed me off about this is Heather and Whitney doing Heather and Whitney things takes away from so many things we could have gotten out of this episode.
Yeah, I agree. I'll do one more, and I know you've got one saved away. From Out of Office Mama, why was everyone mute when Bronwyn replayed what happened with Meredith? This is a big point for me. Once we got that, and Meredith was called out for not remembering or completely denying what was talked about in that secret meeting, we get a Heather confessional where Heather goes, Bronwyn does tend to lie about a lot of things, so I'm not really sure. She should be, again, if your goal is if you're concerned about Meredith or you just simply want her to be responsible for the things that she does, you should be immediately on Bronwyn's team. So there's two things here. Either one, this whole rehabilitating your friendship with Bronwyn that we saw in the beginning of the season was complete and utter bullshit just because you don't want to have to deal with it. Or two, you're now mad because Bronwyn was more effective than all of the shit that you've been doing. So that was a big problem for me. Why the rest of the women didn't talk up, I don't know. I mean, Lisa was very quiet. She didn't defend Meredith. Meredith was also very quiet. Everybody else seems very checked out. And this is something that I've noticed, especially with trips. We get good moments. We get big moments. We get good call outs, but it's 4 days into a trip. They're checked out. They're exhausted. They're just done.
Yeah. And I think another part of that, they've seen this song and dance before.
Yep.
And if they have no energy after, the vineyard and the lunch or whatever, like they're not going to go and try to team up on Meredith again because it would be fruitless to try. Last question here from, oh shit, where'd it go? Hold. Oh, another one came in while we were asking that. Hold on. Then this is just for you. Abigail West 21. Do you think Heather was pissed that Bronwyn's closing monologue was better?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Bronwyn, Mary, everybody was better.
Mm-hmm. And the last one here. Oh, where'd you go? From Shauna Draper 27. Let's hear those power rankings for the Sisters of Salt. Let's end it with a good power ranking.
I guess we'll do it on performance of the season.
Yeah, overall season 6 performance.
Probably Angie, Lisa, or no, Angie, Mary, Lisa, Bronwyn, Whitney, Heather, Meredith.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess that kind of works out. I'm not even ranking Brittany.
Yeah, she's an asterisk. I would go Angie, Lisa, Bronwyn, actually, Mary, Whitney, Heather, Meredith.
Yeah, I think that's
and
fair.
Heather and Meredith are very close at that bottom tier.
Yeah, they are very close, even though that they were at odds the entire season. But it was annoying.
But all in all, another great season from the Sisters of Salt. I expect nothing less. Obviously, there's things that we can nitpick on and dive into more. It all comes from a place of we know what the cast is capable of, and we just want to see that. And what I'm concerned about ever so slightly is we start seeing repeats because we're seeing tropes play out now every season. I need either a newbie to come in that shakes it up a little bit so we have differing factions, because a newcomer coming in could completely galvanize Elisa and Angie against them, right? Like, I think that there's one, not a missing piece because the show's great, but there's one additional piece you could add to this show to just switch up the dynamics.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But we will be back with some more Salt Lake in 10 months. But in the meantime, we've got a million shows coming out. So buckle up. We got Traders coming out this week. We got Rhode Island coming out soon, I guess. Yeah. So stay tuned. That's all I got. You got anything else?
Nope.
Well, Rob Bros are out of here.